Okay, I'll read it again. All right. Cameron pays 95 cents per song with his current music service. A new music download service charges 89 cents per song with a $12 joining fee should Cameron switch to the new service. And then they just made this little graphic over here. Here's his current service at 95 cents per song. And then this one's only 89 cents per song, but it's $12 to join. So this one's only a better deal if he can somehow make up that $12 by saving. So it depends on how many songs he's downloading. So what we need to know is where these are going to be the same price, and then we can kind of make some recommendations. So what we're going to do is make X the number of songs that they're downloading. And so plan A, what we're going to do is we're going to make, we're going to call this plan A and plan B just because I want to label them. So we're going to see where does plan A and plan B equal? Because that'll be the point at which one of them will be better than the other. So the first plan is 95 cents per song. So 95 cents is 0.95 per song. Songs are X, so you put in X. 95 cents per song is 95 cents times X, okay? Then we're going to make that equal the other plan, which was $12 to join, plus 89 cents per song, so 0.89x. I'm just going to take that 0 off because I left it off of this one. Okay, so you have X's on both sides. You have a 12 over here, and I don't have any numbers over here. So it helps if you move the X's over here so that the number is by itself a little bit. I could subtract this one over here, but you just end up with negatives and it makes more steps. So we're going to subtract the 89 cents per song from both sides. And that leaves the 12 by itself, which simplifies this a lot. When I subtract these, I get 0.06x. And then how do I get that off of the x? Divide by 0.06. That kind of pries it off the x. 0.06. And because you're dividing by a decimal, it actually comes out big. We get 200. So at 200 songs, it's going to cost you the same amount of money for both. And if you don't believe me, we could actually figure that out really quick. So for plan A, if it was 200 songs, it'd be 0.95 times 200. So plan A is going to cost them $190. And if I do plan B, it's 12 plus 89 cents times 200. It's also 190. So that happens when they download 200 songs. So which plan is cheaper if he's under 200 songs? The first one, because there's no $12, right? The second one is going to be cheaper if he goes over. So this one does not have 200 songs and we box it and we're done. Because they asked, should Cameron switch to the new service? Well, they didn't tell us how many songs he's downloading. So we're going to have to write an explanation. So if he is under 200 songs, he should go with plan A. But if he goes over 200 songs, he should go with plan B. And that's something that you're going to see with your high school classes too. Not everything's going to be cut and dry. There may be an explanation. And when you're giving somebody advice, it's sometimes like this. Financial advice is just like other advice. It depends on what you're planning to do. 200 songs, I think, is a lot, but actually it doesn't take much. That'd be like 15 to 20 albums. So it depends on if you're buying everything at once or, you know.
The playlists like I have on Spotify are like.
And I should say that that's 200 songs a month, because that's a monthly. Or wait, no, I guess it's not, because the $12 to join doesn't say it's per month, just says it's a joining fee. So never mind. So maybe this is a year then. So 200 songs in a year is not so bad. I was thinking in a month that might be a lot. Maybe not. It depends on how much you're into music. Okay. Back in my day, we bought cassette tapes, and then later the fancy things were the CDs. They were like $35 each. They're not that expensive now. And to have a CD player might have been $800 or $900. And this is early 90s, so that was, think it was worth 2 to 3 times that. It was expensive stuff, so people didn't have it. My first CD player I bought in college, I got a Discman. It didn't have good anti-skip technology, so I couldn't walk around with it. I had to actually have it sitting flat. I hooked it up into my car's cassette player using a special adapter, and I got a pillow from Walmart that sat in the passenger seat, and my CD player rode shotgun and was wired in, and the pillow still wasn't good enough. If I was on a really bumpy road, it would skip, but I thought I was cool because I had a CD player in my car, so you know. All right, all the things we wasted money on.
Players just exist in cars for little kids to put things inside.
Yes, Cameron pays 95 cents per song with his current music service. Cameron's friend tells him of another service that has a $15 joining fee, but charges 80 cents per song. At what numbers of songs does this new service become a less expensive option? So all they did here was they changed this side of the equation a little bit. So I'm still going to have 0.95x. What's the other side going to say now?
15 plus 80 cents.
Yes, 15 plus 80 cents per song, so that'd be 80x. So we're still using x for the songs. They just changed the problem a little bit because somebody else had a better deal. Oh, these are only 80 cents a song. So we'll go through basically the same steps. We'll subtract the 80 cents a song from both sides, and you're going to get 0.15 equals 15. Divide by 0.15. And so this one, they come out even at 100 songs. Now, the way this one was asked was different, though, because it says at what number of songs. So this time, that is what they want for the answer. So as I've told you guys before, it's good to read these more than once, and when you're done, go back up to the question. Make sure there's only one question to answer, right? And make sure that what I wrote down is labeled and answers this question. So 100 songs, at what number of songs? Okay, that answers the question. Because you can have something that's almost exactly the same, but the way they ask it and what they're looking for could be slightly different. Okay, I'm gonna scoot this up.
Why doesn't Cameron just do the math himself?
I don't know. Maybe he's only 3. Let's look at the next problem. So this one's a little different. They've got a little organizer for you. So in the book, when they have these little graphics or tables, it's nice. Pay attention to them because they can help us figure this out. So how many of you have used a taxi before? Oh, actually more than I thought. I've only been in a taxi in London. That's the only place I've ever used a taxi. So they were like the funky, like old style taxis with the cool British driver that was funny. Okay, I think the ones in Great Britain are like black, or maybe they're black and white checkered, something. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, almost 30 years, so they're probably different now. Okay, but here we go. Pretend Lake City has taxis. Who knows? The table shows the rates of 2 taxi services. How many miles do you need to travel for taxi 2 to be the better deal? Okay, so we're kind of doing the same thing and seeing where they're equal. So taxi 1, the initial fee is $2.75. So you hailed the taxi and got in, they're charging you $2.75. You think I'm kidding, but I'm not. They start the meter, you get in there, and then $2 per mile, okay? Second taxi, it's $4.50 for the initial fee, but it's only $1.75 per mile. So if you're going a long ways, this one might come out cheaper. So they're wanting us to know how far do you have to go. Okay, so the big thing is knowing where you're going to put the x. So we're looking for how many miles. So x is going to equal the miles that you're going in this taxi. Or you could use m for miles if you like that better.
No, X is superior.
Okay, x always goes with a rate. So miles per hour, feet per second, dollars per hour, degrees per day. So when I look at this, which one of these is a rate? Maybe the one that says rate? So we're the $2 is per mile. So you're going to have to take that times x. This initial fee is just a flat fee. It is what it is, regardless of how many miles. So for taxi 1, it's $2.75 plus $2 per mile, or X. For taxi 2, I'm actually going to write it over here because I want to make an equation. It's going to be $4.50 plus $1.75 per mile. So when you start seeing that per stuff in a story problem, a lot of times that's where your X is going to go, or your M or your Z or whatever you're calling it. And so that's the hard part, setting it up. Theoretically, we've been solving these equations for a little bit. So we can, yeah, I can pause for a second. But this should be the hard part. After this, hopefully we're all good.
Yeah, I think so. It's just a lot to take in.
It is. So take a second, take it in, let everybody get it written down. Just not going to look that direction because I'm going to laugh. It's okay. You looked a little like a narwhal. That's all there is to it. So I had to laugh. Okay.
Can I have a sticky note about the M&Ms?
Yeah. There you go.
This is gonna be a great video when I get.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask a question. I'm not going to write anything yet. When I have X's on both sides, how do I get them all on one side?
You have to
Subtract or
add or
add.
subtract.
Add or subtract. So which one are we going to do this time?
Probably subtract the 1.75.
Yeah, subtract the smaller number. So let's do that. So subtract the $1.75. You could subtract it the other way if you want to keep track of negatives. If you can avoid that, most people, it's better if you
Wait,
don't.
Is that $1 or $2?
Where?
Oh,
$2. Okay, so over here,
calculator, do you turn a decimal to a fraction?
give me a second. I'm still writing stuff down. So I still have the $2.75. I've subtracted here. I've got 25 cents times X and 450. I'll show you when we get to the end. But on this, it's probably easier just to use decimals. Okay. So once we get all the X's on one side, it's a two-step equation. So what's the first step of the two?
You gotta minus.
Okay, so we're going to subtract the 275 from both sides. So we're leaving the X's where they are. We got them on one side, we're going to leave them. Because we're trying to make this expression on this side smaller and smaller until it's just X. Because then we know what X is. So over here now I have $1.75. And then to get the 0.25 off the X, it's the same step we have most of the time, right? You make our crowbar to pry it off, or in other words, that fraction bar that means division. So take 0.25 off both. We get X equals 7. So to answer the question, 7 miles is how far you have to go before it's cheaper to pay that $4.50 initial rate. Most of the time, if you're getting in a taxi, you're not going that far. Usually you're going across a city, not usually 7 miles. It's possible.
Well, I guess it depends on how big the city is.
True, but yeah. Usually if you're going that far in a city, there's a train or metro system that's going to be cheaper. Depends on how much you want to pay. Let's figure out really quick how much they're paying for that 7 miles. So let's say you're using this one, $2.75 plus $2 times 7. So you're paying $16.75 to ride the taxi, which isn't too bad if you're doing it once in a while. You wouldn't want to do it every day. That would add up pretty fast. It would be cheaper to have a car, maybe, depending.
Well, eventually it would be at some point.
Eventually, at some point, it would be cheaper just to have a car. But initially, making payments on it, maybe not. Okay.
Start the, or you could just like pay flat out.
Yeah. Okay, there's one more. So let's take a look at this one. They're bowling. We used to go bowling a lot, actually, when I was a kid. So it says, for how many games is the total cost of bowling equal for the 2 bowling establishments? You don't have to use X every time. You could say G is the number of games. And especially in science and in financial like equations and stuff, they're going to make this usually the first letter of whatever you're looking for. That way when you're done, you remember what you solved for. Especially when you start having multiple variables together, which happens in high school. This year, you will learn how to solve systems with X and Y, or A and B, or whatever. And then when you get into your advanced math classes, you'll learn how to do X, Y, and Z a little bit.
I think I've done this
There's different ways you may have. We talked about it a brief amount in 8th grade. We were supposed to get through it, but we didn't. So it's in the beginning of this book, so we'll get it done.
X, Y, and then we got to.
Yeah, we learned how to.
We learned how to do it with the graph, but we didn't really do the algebraic method. So we're going to get into that this year. It's okay because some stuff overlaps. All right, so strike bowling and entertainment. So this is tiny. So family bowling, the cost in dollars, so per game is $4, and then to rent shoes is $1. And then for night owl bowling, the game is $3.75 per game, and the shoes are $2. So you only have to rent the shoes once to be there the whole day. I mean, if you want to stay there all day. So the thing that's kind of I didn't like about this problem is they're just basically making it one person paying for one pair of shoes, which isn't realistic, but we're going to go with it.
Family bowling?
As soon as we're done. So we're going to start with family bowling. So it's $4 per game. So I would have to multiply it by the number of games. And then $1 for shoes. Maybe you pay $1 and the whole family gets shoes. I don't know.
That's a pretty good deal.
That would be a really good deal. And then night bowling, it's $3.75 per game, and then $2 for shoes. Bowling used to be a really cheap entertainment. Okay, so we got G's on this side, we got G's on this side. Which one do you want to subtract? 375. Take the smaller number away from the bigger number, so we'll subtract that from the G on the other side. And if you like having the line, I wasn't doing that, but you can still keep doing that. So you've got subtracted 1 from this side and 1 from that side, so keep track of where the equals is. So we have 0.25 G plus 1 equals 2. So now what? Subtract 1. Subtract 1 from both sides. So you're not subtracting the 1 from the G's. Sometimes people do that, so the line can kind of help us go, okay, over here and then this number over here. So now I have 0.25 G equals 1. Final step, divide by 0.25. It's kind of the same step we get a lot in solving these equations. And if you type 1 divided by 0.25, you end up with 4 games. So if you need to go to the restroom, you can sign out and go. You need to make sure your phone's up here with me when you go, though.